Lady K.
Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Lady K Chat, a podcast that has been designed for divorced women to become a better version of themselves. Various subjects will be speaked upon, such as relationship, personal development, health and wellness, wealth building, children, and so much more. The shows will be aired every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time by the lovely host, who is an international speaker, two-time Amazon bestseller author, and a divorce life coach, Kalima, aka Lady K. And now for your host, Lady K. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in into this episode of Business Law 101. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are having the Entrepreneur Series, and I have the pleasure today to introduce my guest. Not only does she have her own coaching business, but this woman, she has a multitude of gifts and talents under her belt, and today we're going to focus on getting you established in your business. So I have the pleasure of introducing my sister in Christ, Miss Monique White. How are you today, Monique?
I'm well. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, you are very welcome. I'm excited, Monique, because, a lot of the women out there that, I really talk to are a lot of divorced women. And I know sometimes when you are going through divorce, finances is very big. And I just feel like it's a great opportunity for you to jump into something that you love to do, something that you have been putting off. This is a new chapter in this woman's life. So it's like, why not take the opportunity and jump into a business? But before you do, you need to know some stuff. Am I correct?
That is absolutely correct. You need to know some stuff and take some steps, or else you're going to get yourself in trouble.
Exactly. So when I took business law in college. Now, business law in college, it was not bad, and it's great. It does teach you some stuff, but we all know that sometimes when you actually go out there and do it, you learn even harder. Because I know I came across some stuff, and I just want to make sure that these ladies are protected out there and that they do stuff in decency and order. So, Monique, what would be like the first thing that you can say, give a tip that they need to take in mind when establishing their business?
Well, the absolute first thing is to take an assessment to see if you're ready for entrepreneurship. And I want to be clear, being an entrepreneur does not always mean that you quit your day job.
Right.
You can be an entrepreneur and be an employee somewhere else at the same time. That does not negate being an entrepreneur. Also, one thing you need to consider personally, do you have a temperament to be an entrepreneur? If you work well with others, if you don't handle stress too well, those are some considerations.
Right.
Secondly, if you have the resources to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And that goes more to the people that want to quit the day job,
right,
and go out on their own. You really need to have a nest egg, so to speak. You need to have finances built up, because entrepreneurship is not a get rich quick scheme at all. It takes time. It takes time to build, and more often than not, you're operating at a loss. So you need to make sure that you have the finances in order, the wherewithal in order, that your basic necessities are being met while you embark on this journey.
Absolutely.
I'll give you an example. That I dealt with one gentleman who obviously did not have the resources available. So gets a contract, but then he's contacting the client for advances because his cell phone's cut off. He needs to pay a cell phone bill.
Oh, gosh.
Or he's contacting the client before the service is delivered to get an advance so he can get paid for gas. That's not how we should operate as business people.
Right.
Because you're showing the client, A, that you don't have your finances in order, and B, that you lack a level of professionalism.
You mentioned some really good key things. I love that, Monique. Keep it going.
And then on top of that, once the service was delivered, you have to understand that most legitimate businesses operate on a payment schedule. They don't pay their invoices as soon as they come in, because then they would just be constantly paying invoices. They usually pay on a 30-day rolling schedule.
Right.
So this particular person, because he was not adequately positioned to be an entrepreneur, put out an invoice on a weekend. Monday was a holiday. This person's flipping out on the client. So now you have ruined that relationship. And entrepreneurship is based on relationships.
Absolutely.
So now, and it's not based on getting new clients, but the success is getting repeat clients, right?
Right.
So now you just negated all that. So you need to, first and foremost, the first step is to take an assessment. Take an assessment of your finances, and you need to take a personal inventory of yourself if you're built for it. Absolutely. Because as an entrepreneur, you are accepting the risk of that business. Absolutely. An employee, you just do the job, and the employer has all the risk of whether it fails or if it thrives, any liabilities, any debts, the employer has that. But as an entrepreneur, you're carrying all those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then secondly, the consideration is what is required in your particular state. And that's really going to come down to what type of entity you want to be.
Right.
And there are different regulatory regulations, requirements, tax requirements that are required to hang out your shingle and be whichever entity you decide to be.
Absolutely. Now talk a little bit about it, because I know there's there's two main ones a lot of people use. I know, the LLCs and the incorporation. I know there's the S Corp and there's the C Corp. Can you just teach them a little bit about that, just real briefly?
Well, yeah. Just briefly, there are 5 separate entity types. You have your corporation, which has the subsets that you just mentioned. You have your partnerships, your limited liability entities, your nonprofits, and your sole proprietorship. Each and every one of those has requirements to form and to maintain. Each and every one of them have different tax implications. For example, a sole proprietorship, typically you don't have to do much of anything in any state. That's just when you just go out and you just start a business, right? And everything that comes in that business and comes out of that business is all on you.
Right.
Then you have the other extreme of that, which is your corporation. And the corporation has the most requirements that in order to form, in order to maintain. And it's very important to research those, and not just to research those, but then take that research to your financial advisor or your attorney and decide which fits best for your particular, for your vision for your business and for your own goals for the business. What is the purpose of that business? Right. If you have a business that has very limited liability exposure, you might not need a limited liability company, which is one of the things. Everybody wants to be a limited liability company. Everybody goes for the LLC. And LLC might not be what's best for you at that particular time. That's why you really need to sit down with someone who knows your own particular facts and circumstances and talk through it with somebody to decide which is the best to do. And once you form that business, then make sure you are aware of the laws in your state and the regulations in your state to maintain that structure, that entity. I do a whole webinar on the different types and subtypes, and one of the things we talk about are the formation requirements and the trouble you can get in if you don't adhere to those. And I don't know, you might have heard of the training, but I'll give you an example. for a corporation, you have a bunch of stuff you have to do, and you have to do at least annually. If you do not, because a corporation has the most protection against liability, if you do not adhere to those formalities, you will lose that protection. So the second thing, like I said, is once you have to figure out what is best for your vision and your goals. And then you have to have an honest talk with yourself. Are you the type of person that's going to follow through and adhere to the requirements?
Absolutely.
If you know, for example, we'll take a corporation. If you know that you don't have a board of directors, if you know you're not going to be holding meetings, if you know that you're not going to be keeping a record of your minutes, then that's not the entity for you.
And Monique, I'm gonna take a little brief, and I'm gonna jump in while you saying that, because I know for first of all, I'm gonna back up, and I'm gonna go back to when you was talking before about asking yourself, is this for you? Are you prepared? And do not think that you can just jump into this and it's just gonna blow up. You have to prepare yourself. And I want to say 15 years ago, when I first was introduced into network marketing, and I got exposed, and I was so excited. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. And I'm thinking, oh, within a year I'm gonna be a millionaire, right? I was in the business for a couple of years, and I think I made like a couple of thousands. But it's just at first, yes, in the beginning, you are excited, but you really have to be logical. But I can speak about my mistakes. I have no problem talking about that, because now I'm in a better position, where before, like you said, I think a lot of people want to say LLC, and because of my experience and because of what I've been exposed to, now I can say, you know what? No, my business does not need to be an LLC. It needs to be an incorporation, because how I'm running it and how I'm doing it. And I'm at the point where I do host meetings with my team. Actually, and I do meetings twice a month. So I know I was on the right track. But before I got there, I had to go through some things, and I had to learn. So I hope you're taking everything into consideration what Monique and I are saying.
That's right. You learned the hard way.
Right. I learned the hard way, and I had to be realistic. And let me tell you something. It is like, for example, one of my goals is to hit to make 6 figures by the end of 2020. Now, because in my business, it is very possible to do that. So like I said, you have to set realistic goals. So I just want to make that very clear, everyone.
Right. And yeah, and really, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You don't want to set yourself up for frustration. If you are just starting out and saying that I'm going to make 6 figures by the end of the first year, that's not realistic.
Right.
That's just not realistic. If you are starting out and you don't have a client base to start with, and you say, oh, I'm going to pull in 5,000 a month, not realistic. You got to you have to be realistic in your goals. They have to be specific, and not just some arbitrary number that we throw out there. It's got to be measurable.
Right. Like, for example, you got to say, if I do want this goal, well, how many products and services am I selling? And if before you get there, how many people am I speaking to?
Right. And if you're selling how many products and services, but not just that, but for how much? Because that's going to be your bottom line. And then you have to also take it into consideration, okay, well, I got to back out all the costs. So you might have a gross product and you're bringing in 5,000, but if you're paying 4,000 in costs, you're really only netting 1,000 a month.
Absolutely. That makes
so
sense.
You really have to take and know your weaknesses and strengths.
Right.
Know your weaknesses and strengths. Build a team, because you can't be everything and everybody. You can't do everything.
Absolutely.
You need to know how to build a team and who you need on your team.
Yes.
And so where you're weak, you should have a team member that's strong.
Right.
And be willing. Right. And be willing to listen. Be willing to collaborate. Yeah, you're the leader, but good leaders also serve and listen. Right.
You are absolutely right.
So that's really what I would say for considerations for entrepreneurship. And one big thing that that I could say, and people, and this goes back to thinking that you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to make X amount of money. Another big mistake that I see is not separating the funds, not having a separate account, a separate book, and treating those funds as your own. That would definitely get you in trouble.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to include?
Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. It seems like a lot. I agree with you. When we get in, one of the demographic that I serve are individuals that are dealing with critical life events to discover and leverage their innate talent, skills, and abilities. And a lot of that is entrepreneurship. I believe each and every one of us has something that we can leverage. I believe that, there is more, we all should have more than one stream of income.
Right.
That's where, God says, unto one he gave 5,000, to another 2, and another 1, and we have that whole parable of how the first 2 went out and doubled their talents. And for us to be successful in life and live that promise of abundancy, we have to leverage those talents, skills, and abilities that he has given us. So, for that person that someone's always coming to ask to bake a cake for whatever event, that's a stream of income that you could be leveraging.
Absolutely. The little
that's a stream. Or if you have someone always comes to you and asks you to sing at a church or whatever, that's a stream of income you could be leveraging.
Right.
And as women, it's important that the time is really now for us to step up and step out and leverage what God has given us. So the main things that I wanted to speak about today was making sure that you are ready and prepared for entrepreneurship, knowing your different types of corporate entities. You have your corporation, your C Corp and your S Corp are subsets. You have liability companies, limited liability company, limited liability partner, partnerships. You have your sole proprietorship, and you have your nonprofits, which we really didn't talk about nonprofits, but nonprofit basically is self-explanatory. You don't make a profit. However, nonprofits get in trouble because they're not supposed to be making a profit.
Right.
They're supposed to be using it for a purpose, a stated purpose that falls within that statute. They can pay officers a salary to a point, but they can't be exorbitant.
Correct.
And they can't then take that and sell, for example, nonprofits really shouldn't be selling products for a profit.
Right.
So you really have to, like I said, research your entity. They have cracked down tremendously on nonprofits. Nonprofits are even expensive to form because of the abuse of the entity. Then you have to really make sure that you are going to adhere to whatever your state, and it varies state to state. So, like I said, this is general because everything is done differently. The process of forming things is different. Make sure you adhere to your state's regulation of formation and maintaining it.
Okay. Now,
for example,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead. You wasn't finished yet.
For example, Delaware is different, whereas I believe it's the S Corp, one of those. On tax day, the federal regulation does one thing and the state does another. All right. In New Jersey, you could just go online and they have everything at a one-stop shop. You can register your business, your tax ID, your name and everything, and then they automatically take you to the federal site and you register there. Everything's one stop. Here in Delaware, it's a 2-step process. You do all that stuff online, but then you got to go in and you have to do something with the Division of Corporations on top of it.
Okay.
And then you have, of course, the federal process. So every state is different. There's no one blanket answer. Every state is different. That's why you need to meet with a professional in your state.
Right.
Not just an accountant, a general accountant, that you knew, or someone that's an accountant over here, because they may not know what's going on in your state. You need an attorney that's in your state to make sure that you have everything in line. Now, I wanted to address the process, because I get a lot of questions about LegalZoom. Do I have to pay all that money to get the paperwork formed in LegalZoom? The answer is no.
Right.
The answer is no. Right. I took a look at LegalZoom. LegalZoom is making bank.
They really are. But you know what? Like you said, it's a business. So I understand. They're charging for their services, you understand? On top of the fee that you got to pay to the state. So they know exactly what they're doing. Exactly.
And they can charge you for every single paper.
Yes, they do.
You can actually, yeah. But like I said, you can do these things yourself if you are diligent, if you do your due diligence, because every state has stuff online, or either they have a place for you to go to fill out the paperwork and get the process going. The question is, are you a person that likes to do things yourself?
Right. And it's so funny. I'm going to piggyback just a little bit. Like you said, it's like, are you that type of person? I am a person. My background is very strong in admin. I'm also a tax professional, but even though I have those qualifications, I myself went to my tax person and I let him establish my business, because that was something that I did not want to do. So it's okay. Like you said, if you choose not to, let someone handle that for you. It's all right. You don't have to handle everything. And that's sometimes you need to take certain things off your plate because you may not understand everything. Yes, I'm a business owner, but I may not understand everything. And I might need that expert to come in and give me the expertise.
Exactly. Know your lane. Because they're the professionals. And I should say we're the professionals, because I throw myself in that category.
Right.
So, it's up to us to know and keep current on what the process is, what the requirements are, and to make sure that you're meeting those things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monique. Thank you for everything. Let me ask you a question. If people wanted to know more about, the entities, of the establishing a business, are you still currently doing webinars to educate individuals?
I am. I do have yes, I do have a webinar that I do. I'll be offering it again, I believe in January.
Okay.
I do have webinars, and I do have the consulting. So if you can always reach out to me. I don't think we mentioned it, but I am the CEO and founder of Triumph Services,
yes, I did.
Where that's what I do. I help people that are trying to overcome those critical life events, discover and leverage their innate talent, skills, and abilities, and transform all that frustration and affliction to motivation and abundance by controlling their circumstances. And a huge part of that is entrepreneurship. So they can definitely reach out to me. My email address is Monique@Triumph, TriumphSVCS.com. Or they can reach me through the website at www.TriumphSVCS.com.
Thank you, Monique, so much. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you for the education. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you can continue to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Lady K Chat, on my website at www.ladykcoaching.com. And y'all guys have a great night. And I hope this information was very valuable to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Lady K.